Good morning, you all. Uh, Today we are going to start with the lecture which is related to the history of developmental biology and the model organisms which we generally use in developmental biology. Now, if you see the history of developmental biology, we can see so many researchers they they have participated in finding out different things related to the development of human beings, not just the human beings but the about any other organisms or the life which has been created in the on the earth. If you see the first theory that is ancient Greeks have proposed, that is they have proposed the miasma theory. The Greek was there in the initial period of near about 300 BC before Christ, and up to the 300 after Christ, 300 years after Christ. The 600 to 700 years they conquered the European region, the Greek, the Roman Empire, and somehow there were so many for, what do we call anthropologists or philosophers was there, and these philosophers they have proposed different theories about the life, how life has been created on earth, how different organisms has been living on earth, and what is the birth of these organisms. So they propose this miasma theory based on the disease which was there in the people, like cholera or any other black plague, such kinds of diseases. And they were, at that time only miasma theory was the like in famous. But then ultimately in 1546, okay, in the before just 5 to 600 years ago, in 1546, the the Fracastoro, he was the scientist, um, from the Spanish origin. He began early version of germ theory in De Contagion or De Et Contagiosis Morbis. So that was his name of the thesis. He proposed that the germs or the microorganisms generally produced from a deceased person. So the deceased person is actually the birthplace, he was thinking. Then after that in 1665, Robert Hooke, the Hooke observed the cork cells under the microscope, and he thought that not only germs is been produced by the organism like in human, but the other cells are also produced by the organism. So the human is the basic what do we call it? The basic entity who produces life in 1674. Now guys, before that I must tell you that you all know that there was a religious atmosphere everywhere, like previously Jews was there. So Jew had another theory of life, like based on their religion, which is started from Abraham. Then the Christianity comes up when the Jesus Christ of Nazareth, he born in some place of his the Middle East, and then he proposed some other theory. Not he, but the followers of him proposed some other theory about the life. The man and woman has been domesticated firstly, and then ultimately life has been started. So then ultimately in that middle phase, there were so many civilization comes up, like Babylonian, Mesopotamian, Chinese culture was there, parallelly Egyptian culture was also there. And these cultures they stated some different statements or different theories according to their religious belief or the mythology. But scientific angle was very less. Like scientifically, no one actually cares about the proof or how exactly it has happened, all the life generation. Then in 1674, the the person who was working in the optic one of the optic glasses outlet, that his name was Antony von Leeuwenhoek. He used to use these a small lens, he called it as loop, and he was looking towards the threads which is weaving, okay, the weaved threads in the cloth, and he used to convince his customers that how that cloth is very much better in the use. So during that time there was a question in his mind, why can't we see the microscopic things which we unable to see by naked eyes. So Leeuwenhoek tried to watch different samples like the sea water or the lake water, which is muddy water, turbid water, even though his own mucus, the sperm sample. Okay, so everything he was watching, so he observed that there were tiny living entity is moving in the slide. It is moving when he was observed under the his loop. Then he started to formulate his own microscope. It is the single lensed microscope. He started to formulate it. Okay, so which he can even handle and he can carry in his pocket also. That type of small microscope he created. And then he proposed the another theory. Okay, we are not just the animal who is living in the world, but there are microscopic entities are also there. So that's why we are calling him it as father of microbiology. Then in like 1874, the Semmelweis came up and he demonstrated that the hand washing reduces puerperal infection. Like generally the infection has been spreaded because of like the dirty hands. Without washing, we are using our hands to eat, to take care of the baby, the child. So he proposed that these hands are the only thing who conducts these tiny organisms which is responsible for diseases. He was just demonstrated because there were no any laboratory present. Very simple and small scale laboratories was there. Even though these researchers even don't allow them to conduct such kinds of experimentation because of there were so many what do we call, the impact of churches, impact of religious aspects was there. So they actually don't allow these scientists. They call them a mad person who is actually turning human being into the demon or kind of say. Then in 1854, just after 9 years, the Dr. Snow demonstrated that the cholera bacteria were transmitted in contaminated drinking water. And he was the person who firstly he actually demonstrated that how epidemic has been produced, the epidemic in England, because at that time there was epidemic of cholera, and somehow he succeeded in formulating how that cholera has been transmitted. So that was the another story. I'll definitely tell you that story in another lecture if you are interested how exactly. And currently also his theory, Dr. Snow's theory, is actually applicable in even coronaviruses also, to track down from where exactly it has begun. Okay, the source of the epidemic or source of the pandemic. So the trace back method, so he actually the what do we call, the contagious biology or the infectious diseases and how exactly they propagate, his theory was very good and currently also it is being used. The next thing is that Louis Pasteur came up just after 2 years, 1856. Now we all know his name. He is the great scientist. He proposed so many theories. He even demonstrated the actual living things, how exactly it generates. He actually shuts everyone's mouths who is telling that life is created from heaven. He even turned all the science from that mythology to the actual scientific laboratory. Life don't created, or life has been not created by any god. Life has been created in the or from the earth only. Life is not generated, it just passed their generation to generation. And somehow Pasteur discovered, at the same time Pasteur discovered microbial fermentation also while studying the cause of spoilage in beer and wine. And he also disproved spontaneous generation theory with the swan neck or goose neck flask. So this is the flask. he added some nutrient material, right? He added some nutrient material in it, and he just the goose naked flask is the small chamber, small pipeline like a structure is there to his opening, and he just kept his flask in the room where air allows, okay, it the air has been allowed to pass through this goose naked flask. And in the other task, there is another flask at the same size, same nutritional media is been added, but there is no any such a kinds of structure, there is complete opening, okay, there is complete opening to the neck. So he, after few days, after 1 day or 2 day, he observed that there was a turbidity is being generated in the open flask, not goose naked flask or the swan naked flask. But in swan naked flask, he saw that the nutrition media is completely colorless. What he proposed after that, the one with the normal background without any scientific approach, he stated that okay, this has happened by nature or something has happened. But Pasteur actually found that the air is full of microorganism and the nutritional media is been turbid, or the culture has been generated from these air microflora. But why this has not happened in these goose naked flask? Because there is a tilt in the goose naked flask. So because of that, microorganisms won't be able to pass, okay, won't be able to pass from this turn, or won't be able to pass from this S-shaped curve, and so that's why the media remains sterile, okay. So that was the world changing or world shook by his theory, and he proposed finally, and it has been accepted all over the world. Then Lister, Joseph Lister came up in 1867, and he actually is been using the carbolic acid as a disinfectant during the surgery, and he found that okay, the disinfection is very important and we can disinfect things with a chemical. Then Koch, Robert Koch came up in 1876 to 1906, and he postulated so many things. The Koch postulates is famous, and he actually determined the causative agents for many bacterial infections. You all know, guys. So that was the theory about how exactly the microorganism related theory. Then ultimately at the same time, the another scientists are also actually working, like what is life. So Leeuwenhoek was observing the sperm cells also, and he thought that the man is produced from that tiny sperm, like a tiny sperm. He even drawn that sperm on his paper with a hand drawing, and he crafted the small animal. He drawn small tiny any human being which is situated. So that was like the Leeuwenhoek wants to say that the life is generated from male who gives life, and it is been nurtured in female's womb. But then after that it was false, because so many like Robert Brown came up. He actually proposed the cell theory, and then he compared animal cell and plant cell, okay, and then he proposed that both organisms have a same entity, that is the cell, that is called cell theory he proposed. Then cell is the common, but it is diverse in plant and in animal. Then this is the timeline of different scientists who actually done a very great work based on the cell, and they finally identified the nucleus, what it contains, and then ultimately what do we call the up to the stem cells. Now we know stem cells, what is happen, who generates cells, what happens to the cells, everything. So this is the kind of history, guys. This is the kind of what we have been generated. So this is the short gist of the history of how exactly development depends upon the complex mechanisms and many layers of biological information that are superimposed one upon another. So like development or developmental process is dependent on one another. The one process is dependent on another. Like the process is done, that process is helpful to conduct the further process. Again that process is important to conduct the another process. So likewise, as our techniques improves, the developmental biology has the potential to much better understood. Like we have developed the physics sciences, and from that we have developed very good microscopes. Okay, and these microscopes are actually helpful in understanding and observing tiny organisms and their organelles, to watch them how they act, how they are working. Once the developmental biology was mostly descriptive, that is the embryo that we were able to watch under the microscope, the embryo from frog or from salamander species or from these fish samples, because these embryos are openly available in the water because of external fertilization of these organisms, fishes and amphibians. The recent advances in cell biology, then genetics, then molecular biology, they actually continue to further our understanding, like for development, unlike any time in the past. These subjects has been very important to understand life. The another thing is that embryogenesis, because the way we are observing embryo and the way we were understanding how exactly embryo forms, that actually demonstrated that the embryo is not just the part of male entity. Both the parent, the male and female, contribute the same genetic content, and then the embryo formation takes place. So that's how, then after that, what, how exactly organ form. So what actually contributes the organ formation? Different experiments has been done, we'll talk about them later, but this is what actually we have been understanding, the organogenesis, like organ formation, what different types of genes are involving in the organ formation, how exactly pattern develops, means axis develops, how exactly axis develops. So many genes, proteins, even these signal transduction pathways, the behavior of cells, they are common to both processes. Like they are like common to embryogenesis also and organogenesis, and how they work. That was the at that time the big question. So now our next part is, that was the history guide. Now next part is how exactly model organisms helped in understanding the life. Okay, this is our basic lecture that we are actually now working, or no, we are watching. So the model organism in animal sciences, there were so many, like different scientists, they observed and they observing, collecting different organism based on their local availability, right? Where they are situated, like in what atmosphere, in what area, in which zone of earth they are living. Based on that, they used to collect the organisms and they watched and they stated some differences. Now the diagram is quite blurry, I'm sorry for that, because I want to show you something. Why a model organism? Several scientists have correlated different species, and these species are very much important. Like take example, this is an invertebrate, and from the one of the invertebrate, there is a classification is been diverted to vertebrates, right? The vertebrate species. The vertebrates, the characteristic of vertebrates is having a vertebral column. Okay, have a vertebral column. And the person currently is a human being, which is like we are the human sapiens, which has been evolved from homo habilis. Now we are homo sapien, and in future, which is coming up from our human after evolution, is homo futuris, if you know. Then this humans is more correlated with the mouse species. Okay, if you draw the evolutionary tree, we can found that mouse is closely related. So mouse is the another organism. If you watch the internal organ system of the mouse, is like the human being, right? Is like the human being, because each and every mammal has been evolved from these tiny species, that is mouse. Because some says that when dinosaurs has been vanished from the earth, at that time what happened, the mammals which stayed in the cave or in the under the earth underground, these mammals only saved because of the heavy impact of asteroid. It was the hypothesis that because of impact of asteroid everything on earth has been vanished. There were so many geographical proofs are also there. But then how exactly these vast diversity of mammals came up on earth? Now we can look towards the mouse, because each and every mammals currently, if we sequence them and if we compare their sequences, they all are the origin is belongs to the mouse species at that time. So mouse, currently what mouse which we are looking, it is also evolved from that ancestor. So ancestor is more closely related to the mouse species. Okay, so that's why the each and every the biology of mouse is as like the humans, because we are evolved from that species only. Then the near animal is like a chicken, the avian class. Okay, the avian aves, these are also a kind of very close related in terms of embryogenic development, the embryo development of organism. Then the more closely to all three animals are like the xenopus, frog species, amphibians, which where they are living in water also and on earth also. So they states that how exactly we evolved, and we actually evolved from water, right? Our whole origin of life is based on water. So we all, how exactly we came on a terrestrial ground, how exactly we became a terrestrial organisms, and how exactly we evolved to breathe oxygen which is present in the air. That all the theory, all the mystery has been resolved if we study the frog. Okay. The next one is the zebrafish, like the all the other animals, which is having a Pisces. So one of the model organism from Pisces is zebrafish, is the good organism, right, guys? So next, then from the invertebrate class, if we understand the genetic composition, the genetic study has been done based on these fruit fly, that is Drosophila, and the other one is C. elegans, which is completely invertebrate, right? C. elegans, Cinorhabditis elegans. We'll see these organisms one by one. So firstly we'll see the Drosophila. Why it is very important? It is the common fruit fly, and the first organisms which is been used by for the genetic analysis by T.H. Morgan scientist. So the importance of the study the Drosophila is to check the linkage, epistasis means environmental impact on our gene, that is epistasis, then the chromosome genetics, then development, behavior and evolution. So all the organisms use common genetic system because we are evolved from a same ancestor, unicellular microorganism. So we share same genetic material. But because of evolution, there are few changes, and that we are going to study the few changes. What few changes has been happened, and that genetics are more related to our um, genetic diseases. So there are more than 1,000 described species from Drosophila, but we generally, or Thomas Morgan has been used only 1 to 2 species for his experimentation. The length of the organism is 1 to 2 millimeter, and you all know that we will directly shift to the generation. This is T.H. Morgan, guys. This is T.H. Morgan. And you can see on the right hand side there is a laboratory. Even the banana is are hanging from the roof where he used to culture these Drosophila in his laboratory. You can see on table there are so many bottles, or milk bottles are there, which contains a nutritional feeding material for the Drosophila, and he used to capture this Drosophila in this bottle for his own experimentation. So he was working in Columbia University, and Thomas Morgan is one of the, like, he's the father of genetics. He is the great scientist. He gives us the genetics branch after the Mendel. Mendel just described the genetics material from plant species, right? That is a pea plant. But T.H. Morgan used to elaborate his understandings in massive scale. He used to understand, he used to publish his data based on how genetic disease is being transmitted from generation to generation. That means how the characteristics has been transmitted. where these genes are located. He's one of the student, his name is Stuart Wendt. He used to publish first genetic map of the organism. First genetic map of Drosophila melanogaster has been published by his own student. That was the great thing. So at least we can say that his student was awarded with so many prizes at his level. His student was also one of the great scientists in the developmental biology. He gives the distance, he measured the distance on chromosome. He gave the name on behalf or on the honor of this Th Morgan, that is what we call it as centimorgan distance. And he proposed the linkage theory, he proposed genetic map, he proposed everything. At least we can say that how good or how intelligent his teacher was. And his teacher was who? Thomas Hunt Morgan. So I hope so you understood this scientist. Now if you see the Drosophila melanogaster, we will directly see to the this life cycle. So this is male and female. You can see that within the 3 to 4 days these Drosophila they complete their life cycle, and they complete their life cycle within few different stages of life. First of all, they are in the egg stage, then the instar stage, okay, instar stage, then the pupa stage, and then ultimately after pupa, after hatching, the adult Drosophila comes out of it. So their lifetime is very less, so we can observe so many generations within a week or within a month, right? And so if we are able to observe the generations, we can check what happens within the gene after each and every generation. So that was the main benefit, guys. That was the main actual benefit out of it. So if you say the chromosome pairs are also very less, like only 4 pairs of chromosomes are there, 3 pairs of autosomes and X and Y, right? The amount of DNA is around just 175 million base pairs, 14,000 genes are there. The percentage of genes in the common with the humans, like how many percentage of genes they compared and they show similarity? 50% of genes are similar as like a human, because of normal processes are same, right? Respiration, uh, taking oxygen from the air, then digestion. So like these genes, which the protein which does these processes, they are same as encoded by our genes also. The average gene size is 300 base pairs, 3000 base pairs, sorry, and the genome, complete genome has been sequenced in the year of 2000. So this is very much important, guys. This is very much important. So why Drosophila in other aspect is very important? In the pattern formation, guys. Now what is pattern formation? There are 3 body segments are there, like head, thorax, and abdomen. So these 3 segments are there and 3 legs are there. So if you say that in the instar phase, if head is there on this anterior side, and on the posterior side the abdominal will form. So which genes are involving in the production of head? Which pairs of genes, which set of gene is involved in the thoracic formation? Which genes are involved in the abdomen? These genes actually segregate on that position. We will see that pattern formation in our next lecture, guys, when we will study the pattern formation in detail. But let just to introduce you what is meant by pattern formation. So this pattern has been developed because of several sets of genes, and this genes is actually working for the segmentation. Okay, so their feeding material is very simple, and they just used to feed on fruit material, the ripened fruit, right? So the culture media is very easy to produce, everything is easy to produce, so that's why it is the big and very good model organism. The next thing which we will see, the nematode, the class nematode, the worm is there, the Sinorhabditis elegans. So this nematode is first introduced by the Sidney Brenner, okay, who formulated the what do we call, the gene and its plan on 1962. After genetic dissection of the behavior, the species has made an important contribution to the study of development. The Caenorhabditis elegans was used to understand cell death, aging, and the behavior of animal on different environmental stresses. So that's why this Brenner proposed that it could be the good organism, good model organism. So we have accepted it because the organism showed a very good information about how cell dies, how aging is produced, which proteins are involving in aging. That all study we saw under the Caenorhabditis elegans. Why Caenorhabditis elegans? Because it is transparent organism, guys. It is the worm is transparent. If we insert particular dye from the mouth, how it digested, if we stain some cells with the staining method, we simply can see under the microscope where this stain is saturated, right? Without we can locate that particular stain. So because of that, the C elegans was very important. Again, I must tell you that the life cycle of these is just 26 hours, guys. 26 hours. Within a day it produces second generation. So within a month they will produce 30 generations. We can see the genetic changes what they shares to their progeny. If we feed them with some cytotoxic material or genotoxic material, we can see what will happen to the next generation. Now currently I must tell you that currently in the corona pandemic period, we are consuming so many toxic antibiotics like remdesivir, like different, even though amphotericin is coming up for the mucormycosis. These drugs, and how will they impact on our body? Very few study has been done, very few. So we don't know what will happen to our next generation if we consume it in a heavy amount. And so that study is been done based on this laboratory scale animal, guys. And so based on this laboratory scale experimentation, we consider these drugs as a safety or not safety. I hope so you understood the organism. This is the 5 pairs of chromosome plus one pair of chromosome in female, two pairs, two X pair in female, and one X only, Y in male. So the DNA amount, the number of genes, these are all the scientific data. You can see the fluorescently labeled Caenorhabditis elegans. If you labeled with the specific cells with the fluorescent GFP, green fluorescent protein, and transgenically if we consider, if we transmit that GFP in the organism, the cells of the organism, you can see that the segments of his body is being stained, segments of body. So that experiment has been done to understand the genetic composition and where the genes actually express in a large amount, right? So that was the thing. Now next organism is mouse, guys. The mouse. As far as I told you that everything, the mammals has begun with the mouse. He was the ancestor. So I guess because of that only our what do we call it? Our religious aspect is more important to the mouse. It is one of the prime vehicle, like Vahan Jalamandapan, to our Lord Ganesha. And so I guess there are so many signal to our religious aspect, the scientific signal why mouse is very important, because all these things has begun from mouse, I guess. So that's why it gives any such importance. And even though life began with the fish in the water, so I guess the first avatar of Lord Vishnu was the fish, if you remember the avatar of. I don't want to go into that subject in the religious aspect. It's everyone's personal thing, but I want to say that somewhere in the religious mythological stories, our science is there. So people needs to understand science. So I guess because of that, the intelligent person at that time, or the philosopher, kept that science in the religious aspect and they proposed some story. So I guess that has happened. I don't know, I'm just discussing these things. But back to our topic. So the mouse, the mus musculus, is the one of the very good. I told you that it is just closer to human. So that's why all the drug study, drug examination, vaccine examination, and everything we can do on the mouse, everything. Because all the internal organ, internal machine, everything, internal system is alike the human. It is close related to human, a small in size, a rapid reproduction, easy to rear in the laboratory, easy to culture in the laboratory, easy to we can tolerate their inbreeding also by placing them apart from male to female. Even if you see the size of that animal, it is 2 to 3 inches. The weight is just 20 gram, guys. And their body plan is very robust. It is like a typical rodent body plan. They We can observe them on the field, houses, and other human structures everywhere. There are around 20 chromosome pairs are there, like, right? 19 pairs of autosomes and one pair of sex chromosome, that is X and Y. So easy to understand their chromosomal structures also. 2.7 billion base pairs is the amount of DNA, and the number of genes which is present in that DNA is 26,000, near about 27,000, guys. And if we say the common genetic material, common genes in the human and mouse, about 99% are same. 99% genes we share similar. Look at the animal, guys. It is completely different from human, completely. But 99% genetic content is same. On only 1% is different, so we are human and they are mouse. आणि जर कधी कोणी तुम्हाला बोलायला गेलं हे उंदरा इकडे तर काही वाईट वाटून घ्यायचं नाही, बिकॉज 99% वी आर माऊस. So that's the jokes apart, but this is it that's why I guess the scientists have chosen a mouse as a model organism. His whole genome sequence has been completed in year 2002, and the genetic study, the large amount of genetic study has been done on the model, on the mouse model. Like for human diseases we are producing so many neurogenerative diseases in the mouse, and we are examining different drugs on the mouse. We are producing so many diseases, guys, so many from more than 1,000 diseases we are producing in the mouse with the help of molecular biology. Even though we are understanding our immunogenic response against these pathogens also in the mouse, how mouse will react, how immunogenic response. Like take example, currently we are accepting Covishield, Covaxin, or Sputnik, or such kinds of vaccines in our body. Do you know that before humans, this vaccine has been conducted, several experiments has been conducted on chimpanzee and mouse. They are laboratory animal, and we were checking the drugs, the vaccines on them, and we are checking the what immunogenic response they shows. Are there any allergies, are there any lethal condition which is occurring, are there any failure of any organelle or organ like a liver, kidney. These all studies we do based on these mouse or these chimpanzees, right? Even though we are producing cancer in them also, to check different types of drugs before we intake in the human. So this is the mouse. Second, the next organism is frog, guys. It's amphibian. I must tell you that it is living in water and ground both. The frog were used to show the nerve impulses effect and the heart using chemical transmission. So that was the first evidence of neurotransmission. Because of neural physiology, the frogs has been very important, and so that's why scientists choose to understand frog and its nervous system. So the more the other important thing is that if you see the what do we call, the reproduction is external. They lay their egg on the open in the environment, on the shallow region of water. And if you see the eggs, they are completely transparent before 4 to 5 hours. We can see the cell division within the egg, how exactly cell divides. So after immediately you can see after a 12th month or after a year, they produces complete adult frog. So we can compare their egg formation with us also, because we also need 9 months to produce the complete human being, the embryo formation, then the larva stage, tadpole stage. So we don't form such a kind of stages, but we can see the pattern formation, how exactly genes is been exploring, producing proteins. If you see that the different protein content in the frog has a variety of proteins which act as a defense mechanism on them. Like they produces antibiotic peptides on their skin, and these peptides is been used to defend any other toxic material which is present in the environment. Frogs are useful to study the development, particularly early events, like I said, the neural plate, neurulation. We are going to see that neurulation after our several lectures. There are several frogs which are transparent also. And this transparency is very much important. We can see what is going on inside the body. We can see their physiology, where these different organs are situated, what is happening, how they digest food. The neurophysiology of vision was partly studied in the frog. The neurophysiology, as I studied, frog was also important in the cloning of the animal. We can clone frog, we can understand genetic makeup, we can clone them, we can understand their genetic material, we can understand the genetic diseases within them. And the more and more ever important is that the stem cells research. You know, the frog has a tail in the tadpole stage, and immediately they drop down that tail and they become a tailless organism. So we can study the cell death and even generation of tail also. During the generation of tail, you can say that there are ample amount of stem cells, we can get it from the abdominal region. And how these stem cells are generating, what proteins is been developing, what genes are actually taking part in that stem cells formation. We can see them under the development of these frog. So this is a very important organism. The next thing is zebrafish. A few characteristic I want to say: that the fast growth rate, mature quickly, high fecundity rate, a spawn through the year, the external fertilization like a frog, transparent eggs and embryos, the whole genome is available for our understanding, and more progenies are available. A very cheaper to maintain and ultimately vertebrate animal. The zebrafish. Their structure is vertebrate. The Pisces. The low cost, easy maintenance genome comprises, we know the genome. Even larva is optical clarity. We can see larva completely clear. We can see the digestion, we can see different organs, how exactly they form, what happens. Everything we can understand. So it is very important class of animal to understand the life. So they reproduces within a 3 to 4 days in the adult phase. So we can understand how exactly somite formations are there, how exactly they form, what body plan they develop, which genes are actually responsible, which genes are responsible in body plan formation. So these all study we can understand based on these organism, guys. I hope so. You understood these different organisms. The one more thing that remained is monkey. We'll talk about the chimpanzee right after that, after our lecture. And this is the first lecture, and we'll see in the next lecture. Okay, bye bye, good, take care.